if you have existing equity in Australia with a property, particularly if it's on the East Coast and you had it for a number of years, you've probably had a substantial amount of unrealised gains. We can use that equity to pull out and use towards the deposit for the next property. FX risk, that's something that will need to be managed because your mortgage repayments will be in AUD, your rental income will be in AUD, and then obviously your ongoing income from your job will be in overseas currency. So considering how to mitigate those risks. Australian citizen versus permanent resident. So this is really talking about if you're an Australian resident and you have a spouse that is a non-Australian, so perhaps they're American, born in America and have never been to Australia, how does that impact for the loan purposes? Because if you're living together, we need to factor in both expenses. So what we find, some lenders will allow having both the Australian and the foreign national, is provide they're in a relationship, both on the title and can both be on the loan and treated for lending purposes. And the Foreign Investment Review Board, again, this is something that was brought in a couple of years ago, really deterring the non-Australians investing in established property in Australia. And this was catching out people who had no connection to Australia. So one of the exemptions, so to not incur the additional stamp duty and the fees that the FIRB levy against non-Australians, is there's an exemption if you're married or in a spousal relationship to an Australian.